where the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Pilecki dives onto the right side. Very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys. Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Pilecki. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. You know, it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the lap car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner of Willie Red curb. Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Vito Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will cook the grass a little. A 180, no, a 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernot. Gernot will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
It's not surprising that one of the shared qualities among many drivers in the Lotus 79 community is that they love a challenge. They may have taken that a bit far this season, with the very first race plopping the car on one of the toughest tracks in which you can race it. One of Britain's more famous and historic circuits, Brands Hatch, will undoubtedly challenge master and novice alike. Who will stick around after this week's monster? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 1 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Stefan Schlacker. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Steph, the track map makes it look like a pretty simple layout. Actually, getting down on the tarmac tells you otherwise.
Most certainly true. 2.3 miles in length, the Brands Hatch circuit has already been host to many F1 races in the past. High speeds can be expected here, not only on the straights, but it turns as well. Great inflow and seasoned with a lot of elevation changes, making most of the turn-ins blind. Brands Hatch is so much more than just your ordinary racetrack. The curbs are also forced to be reckoned with because some of them can really throw you off guard and you go spinning in the grass. The biggest challenge here today though will be the before mentioned blind turns. Of the total 9 turns this layout has marked out, 5 of them have at least a blind apex. To really show you what an incredible challenge that is in the Lotus 79, we're now going to send you trackside with our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Juha Norlampi in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Brands Hatch. Coming up to Paddock Hill Bend, expect to see a lot of errors into this blind corner. It's tough to brake steady and hit the apex while maximizing your speed. The car compresses at the bottom, and then you're quickly braking for druids. This is where many passes are likely to happen, but the braking zone is short, so it'll be very tough. Off the corner, switch sides for Graham Hill Bend. You can use plenty of the runoff, but try not to let the car go too wide because there are dangers in clipping the grass. Then comes Surtees, which is deceptively hard with its late apex. Preventing wheel spin off the corner is not just about keeping the car safe, but also about giving yourself a good run up through Pilgrim's Drop. It's not ideal to have to go too wide through Hawthorne because of how little you slow the car into this terrifying sweeper. Now we're onto the back half of the course. Westfield requires you to barely clip the apex, and once again, try not to drift too far outside onto the runoff. Swing it through Dingledale and then set the car up for Sheen. The apex is almost impossible to see until you're right on top of it. Then you've got Sterling, where the banking really rewards those who carry the momentum right down to the bottom. Finally, you get a short breather on the run to clear ways. This can sometimes offer a chance to pass, but the crest coming into Clark usually causes awkward understeer. As you make the run to the line, hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Brands Hatch.
They see a lap around Brands Hatch from on board the 79, but let's bring you back to last season before we cover the qualifying that's currently getting started. The championship came down to the last race, but unfortunately for others, they could not dethrone Gernot Frischa. Now, he is obviously a multi-time champion and incredibly talented, but he is not impossible to beat. And we could see with the charging drivers coming forward, Steve Bycroft, Matt Wood, who have gotten incredibly good lately, could yet take him down. and beat him this season. We'll find out soon enough. Adam Frazier and Nicola Cocci rounded out your top 5 in the driver standings. What about the team standings, since that always fluctuates with drivers swapping around in the off-season here?
Last season we had Gernot Fritsche and Keith Herner winning that one, 298 points. They managed to outscore Steve Bycroft and Kendrick Taylor there in the Williams Racing. Ferrari, 3rd place back then. They were quite a loser, I would say, in that one, because I really did expect the 2 Italians of Gattuso and Cocci to really make something happen. So probably have them once again on my list here this season. Ligier 90 points behind, and McLaren also a little bit disappointing there with Suarez and Solis 113 points back in 5th place.
Yeah, certainly was a tough one with that 10-point gap when all is said and done. Now, today's race, coming back to the present, as we mentioned, we're in round 1. And those points that you saw, well, they have 4 drop weeks for the drivers if you have any sort of bad week to help you out. For the teams, they only get 2, since obviously multiple drivers are contributing and need a little bit more consistency. But today's race itself, 37 laps long. They have no stop for fuel, and they do have an incident cap to worry about. Granted, it'll be hard to reach that incident cap around here and not have it too damaged of a car. Now, as we take a look at the qualifying, Alexia Loma has joined us and is currently on the provisional pole. But we're waiting for Norlampi, Wood, and Bycroft to get laps in, as they tend to be up towards the top. Bycroft up to 2nd, but then pushed down to 3rd because Matt Wood now on the provisional pole as their first times come in. And Norlampi now up to the top. Steph, this is going to be a tight one out here.
Anyone surprised that Johan Orlampi has right now the pole? Probably not, but we still need the time of Mark Usher, who just put in a 12.7, so he went slower by 500th of a second. And we're also still waiting on... no, never mind, Matt Wood. I'm sorry, he already put in a lap. So, yeah, no, first laps around. Johan Orlampi, your current pole sitter.
And we only have one driver left that they're waiting on getting a time in. His first lap, unfortunately, did not count. That was Peter Mikas. So as he takes his first lap, he will get a time in. So all drivers will have a time here in qualifying, and he puts it in 13th. We're watching Matt Wood try to come around for another one.
Meanwhile, Aloma put in a new fastest lap for him. 2nd place is Matt Wood. 1st place at 12.3. And there goes Norlampi with a 12.2. Yeah, that's about expected, that one from Norlampi into the pole again. But Matt Wood just a full 10th behind Norlampi. That is much closer than he used to be last season for most of it. But what I wanted to say about Alexia Loma, only 1,000 faster than Mark Usher, pushing him down into 4th place, who had an off-track in his 2nd lap.
It is blow for blow in this qualifying. Dustin Schroeder is going to be the last one to be able to put a time in, and he's slowing, so he's not going to improve on this one. It looks like he had an off somewhere around the track. That's everybody who is able to get a time has gotten a time, and our grid is set for the day. Go ahead.
Yeah, we actually still have 3 minutes to go in this qualifying, and we're already done with everyone who is out there. Like, nobody wants to do my strategy to wait for the last point of time.
Well, it's also an incredibly fast lap around here. I mean, you're looking at a pole time of 1:12.2. Compare that to Alberto Pellegrini, who has a 1:14.8 down there in 19th position. That is impressive that we're separated by 2 seconds in a 20-car field. Mick Claridge joins us from the Lotus 49. He's still racing the car, even though he was with the booth for the broadcast race yesterday. And obviously, he's not gotten his fill of vintage machinery quite yet. Why don't we go through our starting grid with everybody now settled out and read you the starting order for today. Johan Norlampi, as I mentioned, on the pole, but Matt Wood about 1.5 tenths behind him. It's going to be tough to pass here, so Matt really is going to have to focus on a good start. Alexi Aloma starting from 3rd. Outside of row 2, Mark Usher, who we know is great in most of the F1 machinery here on iRacing, will be starting in 4th. Steve Bycroft will be P5. Tommy Unhola returns. Bit of a hot and cold driver. Depends on what track we're at, what kind of day he's got, what kind of practice he's seen. Today he's looking pretty decent starting from 6th, but how is his race pace? Juan Costa will be P7 at the drop of the green. Pablo Suarez will be 8th. Same Toikala will be in 9th, and then John Stevens rounds out our top 10.
Barry West will start his number 13 machine in 11th place. Rob Olenek lining up right beside him in row 6 in 12th place. Mick Clash, the before-mentioned Mick Clash, in 13th place, most definitely looking to get higher up with his number 6. Peter Mikus in 14th, Timothy Dalton rounding out your top 15. We're already down, by the way, 2 seconds on the pole sitter Juha Nolampi. Dustin Herrera with a 14.6 puts his machine in 16th place. Peter Konishny in 17th, Keith Herner 18th, Alberto Pellegrini in 19th, and bringing up the rear of the field, this 20-car field, Timo Vaskilampi in with a 1:19.0163, most definitely having some problems in qualifying.
We saw Barry West just continuing around, warming up. And it's worth mentioning this is a split race today. We have the upper split here that we are covering, and then we have the lower split down below. That is done by iRating. If you're not used to iRacing, which is a measurement they do based on your finishing. Today's weather, though, for the race, we're looking at 85 degrees on the track surface, so not terribly bad, and the wind at only 5 miles an hour should not affect the drivers too badly. They're already starting to grid up for round 1. We do get some cloud cover, though, here, Steph.
Yeah, 18 degrees Celsius in the air, 29 degrees Celsius on a track that is for you Europeans out there. The wind is 10 kilometers an hour. And yeah, the track is going to cool down for the first 1-2 laps, depending on how long this cloud is going to be over the sun, or rather under the sun. But yeah, it is going to be interesting. How are they going to be adapting? How much is the track temperature going to cool down? And where is this all going to lead, especially with a very slanted starting grid like we have here in Brands Hatch?
God, such an odd straightaway because it's not even straight up the front stretch. I'm actually curious if England was using metric yet back in 1978. I'll have to check that and see if I can use that as my excuse.
They were using their own imperial. Because
yeah. Okay, see, that's my excuse then.
Yeah, that they're using UK imperial gallons.
Yeah. Anyways, as we watch them grid up now, just a couple more drivers that we're waiting to get out there, and then we go racing for 37 laps today. Unhola and Vaskilampi are the last two. It seems like the Finns looking to come in late, as most everybody is out on the grid and ready to go. Now just down to Vaskilampi as we get Unhola on the grid. Looks like everybody out there, as Vaskilampi did not make it. The lights are up. Engines start to rev. Green flag is out. Nolampi with a decent start. Same with Matt Wood. But it looks like Mark Usher is going to beat Alexia Loma down to the first corner. Paddock Hill Bend. Side by side through most of the field, but they all get through clean.
Yeah, very clean start. A little bit of a wheel-to-wheel contact into turn 2. But apart from that, we're still a little bit side by side. Oh, that's a spin. No, it's not. Suarez catches that spin.
Suarez is going to lose a number of positions with how slow he is off of Graham Hill Bend, though. They come out of Surtees and through Pilgrim's Drop to the back half of the course. This is where things can get really dangerous, though. This fast set of right-handers plunging up and over hills. Nolampi still your leader, ahead of Wood by about half a second. Mark Usher certainly making good on this first part of the race as he's challenging for second. on Matt Wood. They come out of Sterling up towards the final corner now.
Because of the near spin, Suarez started in 8th and now in 12th, getting challenged by his teammate of Dustin Herrera.
Speaking of challenges, we talked a lot about how tough it is around here, but it looks like most drivers are taking a bit of a cautious approach as we're all single file. We're not seeing a whole lot of battling after this first lap is over.
Yeah, teammates just battled. Miko's getting past Olenek for 14th place through turn 1.
Keith Turner also lost the position of Peter Koneski, so that moves Peter up to 17th at the back of the field. A little bit of action back there, but otherwise up at the front, like I said, pretty single file for the top 10. So we watch this battle for 14th. Mike is being chased by Olenek. That's Timothy Dalton behind him. Peter Koneski as well, who I just mentioned, got his spot. They come up to Hawthorne, getting ready to swing it through. Ooh, a little bit of an off from Mikas, but holds it together. Loses him some time. Olenek not able to take advantage of it into Westfield. Have to wonder, with the difficulty in passing around this track, if attrition really is going to play a big factor in who finishes where today, Steph.
Oh yeah, passing is extremely difficult on this track, especially with the ground effect cars that we have present in the Lotus 79. No real braking zones except for now turn 2, where that's a spin.
A spin and a big pile up. That was John Stevens who got turned around. Cars are scattering, trying to get around, and it is an absolute mess. Many are gaining positions, but many more are losing them. Looks like Dustin Herrera going to have a bad time on that one. He's still fighting it out with the Williams of Koneski, who's going to lose it. We're going to go three wide through Surtees.
That's not going to be touching.
They somehow come out the other side. That was Keith Herner in that as well, and Pablo Suarez. I bet he's regretting that early mistake in this race with him being in the thick of it. Still passes happen in front of him. And the McLaren of Dustin Herrera trying to scoot his way forward. Off track behind him, Barry West now falling down.
Yeah, Barry West is hurting. He barely has any turn right now. He's struggling really heavily with his car on the turns. Probably has to pit in and get some repairs done on his McLaren.
Well, if it is an attrition, it's a chain reaction that's causing an effect around here and allowing passes. I'm not sure if we have time for a replay of all of that action, as one of the drivers unfortunately having to come in. Let's see if we can pull that up. This all started with Stevens coming into Druids.
Yeah, Stevens gonna be a little bit too late into Druids and then just loses the rear end because of that. And yeah, a whole lot of chain reaction there. That blue car that we see driving into the rear end, that's Mick Claridge.
Both McLarens having to go off track to try and avoid, and it didn't work out for either of them. Oh, Claridge with a big hit. You certainly don't want to lose downforce around this track. You need that in the corners. This man not losing any sort of downforce, in fact, not losing time to anybody. Nora Lampe has easily proved the fastest. He's already 2.5 seconds ahead of Matt Wood, who continues to deal with the pressure from Mark Usher behind him. Usher's not been close enough to really attack. Alexi Aloma holds down third, a little bit behind, kind of lingering, but certainly not close enough himself to affect a pass. In fact, this is more of a four-car train, I'd almost say, because Steve Bycroft is in there. You see flashes of him there at the back in the Brabham. This is all a battle for second, down to fifth.
Yeah, right now we have two battle groups. The first one, this battle for second place, then we have two stray cars, and actually three stray cars, and then it's Mick Claridge who leads a 5-car train for 8th place. Sorry, 9th.
Surprised Mick is as high up as he is. He's clearly lacking straight line speed because he's under attack right now with Peter Mikas looking for this one. Central Eastern European driver applying some pressure in the back half where it's probably hardest to try and pass. And you're right. Look at this train. Oh, and Micus loses it. That was out of Westfield. What a spin! He catches the car and keeps going without hitting the thing.
Well, if you do it, then do it like that, I would say.
He's still fighting a little bit for position. That's Keith Turner, and he's going to be able to fend him off. Let's take a look at that one more time. This is on board. You can tell he's faster, and he's challenging.
That's the challenge of this track. The curb there on the outside is a little bit off camber to what the track is leaning towards. And then there's also quite some bumps, and yeah, just catches Mike is out. That's a nice 360 and keeps it going the right way.
A little bit of a pirouette, and the number 11, unfortunately, down to 16th with all the cars streaming by with that incident. Interestingly, that leaves McClarridge in 9th, although it looks like, did he get overtaken here?
No, Timothy Dalton still behind him. But yeah, the Brit now the first one to challenge the other Brit. No, yes, both Brits, obviously.
Of course, Timothy Dalton is a Brit. Have it no other way. Refrain from the many jokes that we've given on his name so far. Rob Olenek is in there behind him in 11th, and don't forget Dustin Herroder.
He's the lost brother of the Dalton brothers, isn't he? Either way, Rob Olenek looking to overtake Timothy Dalton, not working out this time, setting up Paddock Hill Bend for a burst into turn 2. It doesn't happen though for him, as a great drive for Timothy Dalton prevents that. He gets under pressure now from Dustin Herroder though.
Yeah, I can't tell if that was an attack or a defense from Rob Olenek. Herroder obviously trying to work his way forward, get up to his teammate Dalton. They work their way around Surtees. They're starting to be caught by those behind them. That's Stevens, Suarez, and Konecki. So this is going to be turning into a 7-car train, really. Dalton slow off of Surtees, losing ground on Mick Claridge through Pilgrim's Drop. Kind of surprised by that with Mick having all the damage on his front wing. Now we ride on board with Herroder, looking ahead at Olenek. Up into Clark Corner and back onto the Brabham Straight. McClarridge doing a good job withstanding the pressure. Not sure how long he'll be able to hold these three back. Olenek once again strong into Paddock Hill Bend, but not as strong off. Timothy Dalton now challenging around the outside up into Druids. McClarridge going to cover him off and no change for position.
I wonder if that was planned or just a little bit too late on the brakes there for Dalton. Either way, he nearly actually was able to challenge their Claridge on the outside of Druids.
This is where the action is. We don't need to go up front, but just an update. Noah Lampe still leads. He's 4 seconds ahead of Wood, who still has Usher and Aloma relatively close behind. This is a much closer battle. And based on what we've seen so far, definitely the more unpredictable battle. They have definitely been caught by Stevens and Suarez. So we've got a 6-car train now. Seeing the upper right, Noah Lampe continuing to gap the field with another fastest lap of the race. Ooh, way too hot into the corner for Dalton. Here comes Rob Olenek. He smells blood in the water, but he's going to be forced around the outside. Dalton drifts back to the racing line and chops him off. Olenek has to dodge, but manages not to get into him.
That door slammed so hard, it opened the other way.
And he's still not able to step through it, unfortunately. Out of Druids, Dustin Herroder continues to peek back and forth. We got 2 sets of teammates, and I'm actually not sure if Dalton is paired up with Herroder as he takes a look around the outside of Surtees. Oh, and there goes that good drive for Mick Claridge. Maybe
Yeah,
wheel
and
spin
that-
out of Surtees here?
Yeah, just way too tight on the entrance. Still wants to get the same power down and just pays the price for that. A little mistake with quite the outcome. His race completely done for today.
It's a good demonstration of how old school this track is. Those barriers right at the side. Oof, man, I don't know if we could get a replay of this, but Alexi Aloma just had a big moment coming out of Paddock Hill Bend, and he managed to catch it. He was almost all four in the gravel with the car sideways. We'll be right on board with the Finn. Watch these hands as he comes down the hill over this blind crest, Steph.
Riding on board with Alexi there, probably goes into the gravel.
Ooh. Just a little bobble. He catches it and keeps going. Loses quite a bit of time to Mark Usher. Steve Bycroft sees it, and he thinks that maybe he can sniff a spot out, moving higher into the top 5 as he closes in on the back of the number 5.
Speaking about closing in, the battle between Sami Toikala and Ronnie Costa is slowly starting to creep in. That's for 7th position. Sami Toikala most of the time 2 to 3 tenths faster than Ronnie Costa. There we go, as Norlampi once again puts a blistering time in. Last lap 8, he lost a little bit of time to Costa. Let's see how this one was. And once again, I lost 2 tenths actually to Costa, so going a little bit back and forth now, that gap.
Costa's seen him gain and starting to respond, or maybe it could be the wake a little bit. Even though these cars use a lot of downforce on the underside, on the ground effects, we've heard from drivers that it can be tough to follow sometimes, Steph.
Oh, most definitely. Yes, the wings on top of the car don't produce a whole lot of downforce compared to what the underside produces, but still, quite some significant downforce is produced over the wings atop of the car. And yeah, if you drive behind someone, you can actually feel it, that you're starting to really start to slide a little bit, start to not have good turns in anymore, as Dustin Herrera tries to overtake Timothy Dalton right now. Can he do it? Around the outside, he has to try it and does not. Oh, the switchery comes in from Herrera. What a drive he gets. Can he stay? Oh, that's a little bit of a touch.
Dusty gets it done, though. That was a clever move on his part. Behind him, almost completely off the track for John Stevens, and holds it together. Once again, we're seeing that chain reaction for any of these trains of cars close together. Someone makes a move. Everybody else tries to react. You're right. Dalton with a horrible exit out of Clark. Olenek with the speed around the outside coming into Paddock Hill Bend. He's going to have to be brave and try to find the grip. I'm not sure that it's there. He's all the way off into the gravel. Brings it back to the course, but loses 2 spots instead of gaining 1. Suarez, has he got it done? He's got the inside. No, he doesn't. Here comes Olenek back at him down the inside into Graham Hill Bend. This time it is Suarez time to go wide. He loses out. Peter Konietzki now on the attack. Looking into Surtees. Defensive move from Suarez and up to Pilgrim's Drop. And finally, I think they settle out.
Finally, they settle out. Konietzki not going to be there for Pilgrim's Rise, so he stays behind. To go back to the point I was trying to make, yes, these cars do still produce quite a significant amount of downforce on top of the car, which means you're going to lose that some percentage of that because of the disturbed air, which is going to hinder you not only on your drive through turns, but also out of them.
Separated this group of cars just a bit, but many of them relatively close together. Although Horoder, now that he has gotten ahead of everyone, seems to be making good on the clean air in front of him. He sits in 9th, but with a big gap up to Toikala in 8th with about 11 seconds to try and catch. Not even halfway through this race as we watch John Stevens chasing down Dalton. Ahead of him, his teammate Olenek close behind. Olenek having recently lost positions from that mistake through Paddock Hill Bend. Ooh, I tell you what, the battle for fourth, getting awful close. It is 0.3 of a second from the Brabham of Bycroft up to the number 5 of Loma. And he's gaining on the front stretch up the Brabham straight. Doesn't have enough straightaway to really try and attack. And it doesn't look like he's got a good enough exit out of the first corner to try anything into Druid. So he stays behind. But how long can Loma withstand this pressure?
Yeah, Wood and Usher are starting to drive away from Alexei Loma, and Steve Bycroft sees the writings on the wall and decides, I want to get past now because I want to catch that train too. That is going off for that second place.
Continues to follow in his tire tracks. Looked like a slightly defensive move from Loma down Pilgrim's Drop, but he comes back to the racing line through one of the fastest corners on the track in Hawthorne, then plunging over Westfield through Dingledell, and it's back up once again through the incredibly blind Sheen. This is a corner that elicits errors, but it doesn't this time for either driver. Up to Clark now. Over another rise, and then it is up the hill along the Brabham Straight. So far, only one DNF in this race. Mick Claridge, he did actually come on to the driver's chat and message them saying that it was pressure that got him in the end. So unfortunately, he cracked this time at least. Barry West did have to come in, get some repairs. He's gotten back out since, and he is the last driver out on track. This is the first one out on track. Norlampi currently up ahead and now 6 seconds beyond Matt Wood.
Yeah, and last lap, he once again put in a new fast lap of the race of 13.157. He's gradually lowering that lap time, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 12 point something in the race trim later on in the race by Johan Orlampi.
Certainly has got it together today. Not sure if he's going to be competing for a full season this time. He came in and out last season. Of course, the Preacher having a busy schedule, so doesn't always really get to challenge for the championships, even though he typically challenges for wins. There you see the gap on screen between himself and Wood. Interesting and worth noting, too, that in the 79 Classic Teams Championship, with this being a split race, Steph, this is going to be worth quite a few points. And I think we just saw a bobble from a Loma out of Graham Hill Bend, but it doesn't look like it opened up anything for Bycroft quite yet.
Yeah, and I'm actually not sure right now what the SOF is for this race, but I'm pretty sure it's quite high. Because, as I said, we have that split. I think it was in total 40 cars that signed up here today at the very end. And the split number, by the way, 36 is the maximum you can have here today for this series. Yeah, I'm just saying it's about 4K. I think he is quite right there, probably somewhere around the 3.8K in total. That SOF is, so the points will be vast and every position counts.
And just to give you an idea, a little bit of a stat that drives this home, of the top 5, only one of them are below 6,000 I rating, and that's a Loma, and he's still a 5,800. This is an incredibly stacked field. You have to bring your A game to get a good result today. Juan Costa, who we saw being closed in upon by Toikala. But Sammy has stalled out a little bit. He's been sitting here about a second back and not really gaining as much as we saw earlier.
Lowest R rating, by the way, from Timothy Dalton. The number 20 car is 2.68K. So, yeah, even though Timothy Dalton is the number 20, he still has quite a high R rating.
Yeah, when that's your lowest, that's saying something. There you see Dalton continuing to run in 10th position. He's responded to Heriter passing him, though. We thought that Dustin was going to romp away, at least by the early indications. Instead, Timothy stopped the bleeding, and is trying to regain on his teammate while he deals with John Stevens behind him, who you see also closing in on the gap. Through the back half of the course. No attempts through here thus far, but we did get an attempt down into Druids from Steve Bycroft now. He's finally getting it close enough that he's starting to go on the attack and poking his nose in here and there on a Loma. Lexi with a good exit coming out of Surtees. Bycroft following, staying right in the slipstream to see what he can gain. Up one of the fastest parts here. Pilgrim's dropping into Hawthorne. He does gain a little bit. He's just about 2 car lengths behind. And here's where it's certainly going to be tough to stay in that wake. And look at him drop back there, just in one corner.
Yeah, I'm wondering a little bit if Steve has his car a little bit too much lowered out on the wing side for the fast straights here. But yeah, Bycroft most definitely struggling really to get even close to Alexia Loma to do something out of turns onto the straights.
Continues to follow. Worth noting that we have had a slight rise in temperature on the track surface. It's up to 88 degrees Fahrenheit currently. The temperature is going up because we are just about in the middle of the day for the start of the race. It's currently noon 30, virtual standard time here in England. Pilgrims drop one more time. Go ahead.
One battle that is also starting to close in once again is the one that is for 9th place, where Timothy Dalton Stevens and Olenik are starting to catch yet again the car of Dustin Herruda.
His group of cars has been almost glued together for much of the race. Suarez, though, looking like he's struggling to hold on to the tail of the train. Hopefully he can get up there in case anything starts to erupt. And boy, have things erupted a couple times. As soon as one move gets made, it seems like everybody else suddenly pounces. So I wouldn't be surprised if John Stevens does try something on Dalton, since he's the closest right now. We'll see Rob Olenek as well see an opportunity on his teammate, try to gain a position. They're going to stay patient along the back half of the course. They swing it through Sheen. See if Sterling offers anything with the exit. Very banked corner, but everybody looks about dead even. It's the other thing that I love about this track, Steph, is the variety in these corners. So you've got Sterling with its heavy braking. You've got others that are off camber. You've got Druids coming up here with the uphill braking zone, just incredibly unique.
Oh, Stevens!
Stevens going to lose it. Olenek says thank you. So does Suarez. That's 2 positions down for the number 19. He drops to P13.
The second, he nearly loses it again onto John Cooper straight. John Stevens just really struggling with that braking zone up into Druids.
Yeah, let's stay with this replay. Down to the bottom of the hill, he has another moment here. On board with the New Englander. Graham Hill Bend. Oh, man, he's got all kinds of gunk on the tires, and unfortunately there was no grip through there. So as we come back live, as we said, down to 13th due to that mistake. Haven't had too many cars climbing forward that much, not that much of a surprise considering the nature of this track. One of the best movers up towards the front, at least, is Dustin Herroder. Qualified in 16th. He said that he had a bad qualifying himself after that was over, so he's a little out of position. He's since moved up to 9th place.
Oh, Bycroft nearly spun just now through Sheens.
That was a great catch. Let's watch this one. Ooh, this was a power slide through there.
Right behind Loma, just loses the rear on a bump, and yeah, just buckle up and get ready to save that one.
Crossed them up, gathered together, and then made it look like nothing had even happened. Granted, he's about 1.1 behind Loma, so a slight bit of time lost. He's still within reach. Speaking of time lost, for those wondering about our leader, it is about 7.3 seconds between Noralampi and Wood now. So I'm not sure if Noralampi's slowed down a bit to manage the gap, or if Wood has tried to turn it up a bit to try and stop the bleeding.
I think Noralampi is a little bit right now down on pace because he wants to. Just, seeing what he can let off to still be very much in charge of this race.
Let's jump back to 15th, because Keith Herner looks a little bit rattled right now with Peter Mikas applying a lot of pressure. A little bit sad that Herner is down in 15th right now, Steph. You looked up the stats and found that if we were going historically, Herner should be a little bit farther up the field.
Yeah, most definitely, because this car, the Lotus 79, has raced here only once, because in 1979 they didn't do the English Grand Prix here in Brands Hatch, as that's Mike is going to the inside and he actually sticks back once again for another lap. If he would have really tried, I'm pretty sure he would have been able to make that pass stick. Either way, Carlos Reutemann did win the British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch in 1978 in his Ferrari 312B. So Keith Herner obviously racing in the paint scheme of that Ferrari, so he most definitely should be a little bit higher up than just P15.
The Williams certainly making a few mistakes here and there, because Herner gained a lot of time. Through Paddock Hill Bend, he once again loses out. Certainly sees something bubbling up. Let's see if Keith can maybe get himself a little bit higher on the timing charts as they now come down to the bottom of the hill in the middle of the natural amphitheater here at Brands Hatch.
I have to get my facts here right real quick. It was the Ferrari 312 T2, not B2.
Ah, how dare you?
Yeah, I would have not let myself down if I wouldn't have corrected that one just now.
I don't think Herner is worried about T's or B's. He's just worried about P's. He wants positions out on this track as he continues in this train of cars. This is becoming a theme around here. One cork in the bottle up at the front, everybody behind looking for some way to try and squeeze past, hoping for a mistake, some opportunity, anything. Nothing showing up currently for the number 17. Not missing anything up front. This is one of our best battles. Still, the Williams going to deny him anything as they come through Druids. He's got to get a lot closer than that if he wants a chance to try and make an overtake. Love this shot over the front wing. Really gives you a sense of the speed of these cars. And what amazes me, Steph, is normally on these sorts of shots we see a fair bit of suspension travel. That suspension just was not moving. These things are planted.
Yeah, most of the track is actually quite bump free, which you wouldn't expect from a British racing circuit like Brands Hatch. Or Donington. Oh, Keith Herner going super wide in his battle for 14th that I was still watching as we're on the battle for 9th. But yeah, some parts are extremely bumpy and other parts are just extremely smooth here in Brands Hatch. So it's a little bit of a two-faced coin here. And you have to decide, really. Do you want to have the battle or do you want to have the battle? And Olenek is deciding he wants to have the battle.
He's trying it on Dalton, looks for the over-under. Dalton carries the speed well, covers him off at first, but then opens the door. Olenek, not enough braking here into Surtees. and can't get the job done. This is losing them touch with Hiroder up ahead with all this side-by-side battling. Dalton knows he's under threat. He ducks to the inside, back to the racing line for Hawthorne now that he knows he can make it. Once again, Olenek right underneath that rear wing, trying everything to try and make it happen now. He might not get another chance with the laps ticking down. Wow, he is close, and he's all the way off the track. Has to stay to the inside to defend from the teammate. Suarez behind him. Suarez then drifts out, being caught out by the defensive maneuver. No change of position.
Now to quickly go back on my point, you have to decide on this track with this car, what do you want to have? Do you want to have your car set up more for the smooth part or for the bumpy part? It really is much more than just setting your car up for the turns. You also have to set it up for the surface.
Almost looked like Dalton maybe slowed it up at the apex. Not sure if he was trying to keep Olenek back or not. Whatever the case, it worked.
Now, Juha Norlamp, you can see it on your top right of the screen. I won 12.961. I did a little bit more of digging in the archive, and that is about 4 seconds faster than the pole position the real-life Formula 1 race had at Brands Hatch on July 16th, 1978, which was run by the Lotus of Ronnie Peterson.
It's worth noting that even though the layout is the same, the track may have been altered just slightly, so could be wider at parts. We also have a few bits where you can use the runoff in this car. We watch Matt Wood, still with Mark Usher, somewhat close behind. You can see the previous lap. Usher was fairly faster than Wood. Wow, look at the lap comparison. Consistently faster the last 5 laps, every single one. Usher is gaining. He has turned it up. Down to 1 second. They've got not much of a threat from behind. Alexei Loma about 2 seconds back. He's going to have to get much closer for Usher to get worried about that. At this point, his eyes are forward. The number 4 looking to see if he can move a step up on the podium. Down to 10 laps to go at this point. Usher continues to gain. It's down to 9/10 of a second now. How much is Wood looking in his mirrors? So we jump back to Suarez and Olenek. Suarez starting to close. Rob losing touch with Dalton up ahead of him. Like Olenek responding a bit as he pulls away from Pablo behind. Amazing how close they run these cars to the edge of the track, especially considering how marginal things can be with one mistake. We've already seen a few cars spin, hit the wall, and just generally lose positions just from the smallest of errors. Amazingly, though, we've only had 1 DNF still, and that is still Mick Claridge. Barry West is still going. 19 out of 20 drivers out on the track.
Most definitely, and it's kind of funny that Mick Claridge is the only one who has DNF'd so far, as we have seemed to have lost Alexei Loma, who went into the ether and hopefully is coming back soon, because Steve Bycroft was starting to catch Alexei Loma by quite a rate, as Loma was starting to make mistake after mistake.
And it wasn't an off track. I was worried at first that maybe he hit the incident limit. So it looks like it is indeed connection. I think he's still not back here. I think Bycroft has been gifted a position. I'm not sure if he'll be happy about that or disappointed that he missed out on a potential battle that he could have enjoyed. down to 8 to go. We're still not seeing Aloma back. I'm not getting a message that his connection has dropped out. We'll know soon enough. It's rare that you can be gone this long and still reappear. And he is gone. Indeed, it just got the message that his connection has failed as this battle for 8th gets incredibly tight. That was Holinek and Suarez. Really the battle for 10th between those two. Sandwiched between what looks like a bunch of McLarens. I'm not sure if that's an Alpha, though, that Rotor is running. Back in the early 80s as we got another attack here. Olenek up to the outside of Dalton. He's going to try and swing the over-under, but unfortunately his car got loose. He's still going to go for it down into Druids, and it doesn't come off. Behind him, Suarez poking his nose around, and the door is not open. But, yeah, I was going to say, I know the Alfa Romeos also had Marlboro sponsoring back in the early 80s. Very tough to tell the difference between the McLarens and the Alphas. Another duck to the inside. Olenek under attack from Suarez. He's given him space in Hawthorne. And despite being on the outside, he fends him off. Suarez thinks about it, but comes back to the racing line into Westfield.
All right, so Herrera is on the McLaren team, and Alfa Romeo team, which was also sponsored by Marlboro that year, is Pablo Suarez and Timothy Dalton.
So it is a Alfa Romeo sandwich that he is in now.
With a Lotus in between as the salad.
You put salad on your sandwiches?
Sure.
Austrians are weird. 6 to go out here at Brands Hatch, and it's still Johan Orlampi leading if you're just joining us. The gap for second continues to close with every lap. Mark Usher now down to half a second on Matt Wood. Not sure if Usher's going to stick around for a full season. He certainly wasn't here for a full season last time. So Matt Wood really doesn't want to give away points to Usher behind him, and hopes that he can start off his challenge for a championship that he lost out on last season on a good note this season. It's got to be frustrating as they pass some lap traffic. That was Peter Koneski that they went by. Got to be frustrating for Matt Wood, having found such great pace, been able to challenge the likes of Gernot Friesche, and then finds himself still not able to take maximum points even when Friesche isn't here, as that was a big mistake from Matt Wood. Caught a big slide, and Usher now closes in right under the rear wing. Does he attack now, or does he wait? Stays behind through Clark. Looks for the exit off of Clearways. Up the Brabham straight. I don't think he's quite close enough. Things just got a whole lot more tense, and with more lap traffic in front of him, Keith Herner is up ahead. Peter Mikas, that could be the pick that Usher needs to sneak on through. Let's see how the lap traffic behaves. They can't disappear. They're fighting their own fight. Way deep into the corner from Mark Usher. That hurts him at first, but for the exit, Keith Herner was a little bit in the way of Matt Wood. That evens it all out. No change at all for the gap between them. Wood is really pushing the limits now. He is taking a lot of curb in this car. Steph, I don't know if that's a good decision in this sort of moment.
It does seem so right now for Mark Usher. Oh, in P9 we have a change between Dalton and Olenek. Never mind, Olenek goes wide at a bend and will step position.
Staying with the cameras right here for the battle for second place. Down to 4 laps to go. Another lapped car in front of them. That's Mikas himself. Is he going to pull over here? He stays to the outside, lets them have the inside line through Druids. Nobody held up more than the other. Got a bit of a gap to the next lap traffic. I'm not sure that they'll even catch it. It's Sean Stevens, our leader, hasn't even got to them.
I'm pretty sure that these two guys won't catch Stevens, but Noah Lumpy most definitely will catch John. Question is really if Noah Lumpy catches that battle for 8th place, which still is that 4-car battle, all the way down to 11th place, which is now inherited by Pablo Suarez.
Another little bobble out of Westfield from Matt Wood. With it being the back part of the course, Usher gained where he couldn't pass. Now he gains where he could potentially pass. Defensive move from Matt Wood into clear ways. Mark Usher this time, the one who has to catch the car. He loses out. He's going to have to regather it and try again later. Oh, and another big slide. Is Usher's tires finally going out? He spent a lot trying to run down Matt Wood as he used up his stuff too much. Down in 8th position. And for 9th behind them as well, there was a little bit of contact between Olenek and Dalton.
Oh!
He tries to go underneath them, makes contact. Olenek falls down as Suarez sneaks through.
Way too aggressive there from Olenek. I honestly don't know what he wanted to try there, because Dalton ahead of him, he was right on the apex, and Olenek tried to go even more to the inside of the apex and just nearly jumps over that rear wheel of Dalton.
I think he was getting desperate and just was looking for an over-under that wasn't there. As you said, there's only so much track to the inside, and he ran out of it. As we come back to the battle for 2nd place, Wood fending off Usher.
On a quick side note, you were able to see it last lap, Johan Olampi with a 12.7, which, yeah...
Oh no! All 3 of the Marlboro-sponsored cars are off course in Graham Hill Bend. This started with a mistake from Heroder up at the front. Dalton got into him. Suarez couldn't avoid it. And just in a split second, Rob Olenek gets all 3 spots back.
Oh,
well, that's got to leave a smile on his face.
Actually, Suarez, you were able to see it there on your view. He nearly collected Noah Lumpy rejoining the track, so very lucky.
We got to go to 2nd place because Wood had another attack. And Usher not able to make it happen. See, John Stevens also in the pits. We'll try and figure out what happened there, but we got 2 to go. And P2 is so incredibly close. That is Dalton up ahead of them. They will get a little bit of traffic, it looks like. White flag as Usher continues to try and see if he can squeeze by Matt Wood. Oh, and Wood is wide. He is way too wide. A critical mistake on the final lap. Usher takes it with ease. He's going to have to get it done through Druids, and I think he does. Oh, but he runs into the back of Dalton. Dalton trying to give him the spot, gives it right back to Matt Wood. What an incredible turn of events. This all happening behind our leader, Juha Norlampi. Well, we've had excitement all throughout the field. This has been almost a literal walk in the park.
Bycroft is going to take P3. Bycroft is going to take P3. Mark Usher extremely hurt after the contact with Dalton.
There was a car off. I'm not sure what that was about. We'll get back to that in a moment. But Nora Loppy is absolutely going to take the victory as he weaves in celebration. Behind him, Matt Wood will get 2nd place. Luck a little bit on his side, and Bycroft rounds out the podium as Usher has to DNF. So this promotes Unhola to 4th. We haven't even looked at him all race. Seeing if we got any more battles throughout the field. And I think everybody who is close has come across the line. I think we have a replay of what happened with Usher.
Now, Dalton, I don't know. You're gonna see Dalton is not really going to accelerate out of the turn, but
he was sort of on the racing line. It does cross there, and he was trying to give him the natural racing line by staying off to the left, it looked like. It's a hard call. Now, we've got a lot of debate. We're going to watch to see exactly where Usher finally pulls it off. It doesn't look like he's that damaged.
No, I think
continued on.
I think just Usher himself came through there, and he really gets hot-blooded if something doesn't really go his way. Let's put it that way. And yeah, he just parked it after Sheens without reason.
And I'm not sure why John Stevens parked his car. Oh, he did. He lost it out of Surtees. I don't know that we need the replay. It was all on his own. Anyways, it was, boy, an exciting finish here for round one. Let's head off to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. But if you stick around, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Welcome back to Brands Hatch. Here in England, we kicked things off for the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship at a very classic course. And Juha Norlampi tried to bring back a little bit of the old, a driver we've seen win many times here in the seasons that we've covered on the Classic Teams Championship. Wins another one by a pretty wide margin, 7 seconds, almost 8 seconds over Matt Wood at the line. Wood had to fight for it, and again, he got a little bit lucky with lap traffic helping him get the position back, and then Steve Bycroft sneaks through into the podium on the final lap. Tommy Unhola, who probably is a little bit grateful for a quiet race, manages to get fourth with nobody really to fight around him. Juan Mi Costa behind him takes a P5. Sami Toikala gets promoted up to 6th, and Rob Olenek starting in 12th. That last lap gain moves him to the last driver on the lead lap into 7th. Mark Usher, unfortunately, was not able to finish the race and takes 8th today. Pablo Suarez will take 9th. He was certainly involved in the chaos there at the end. And then Dustin Roeder behind him, rounding out the top 10.
Timothy Dalton starts in 15th, finishes in 11th with his number 20 car, so that probably is quite some iRacing game for him. Peter Mikus only in 12th place after starting 14th. Keith Herner also rising up 4 positions to a 13th place. Peter Konisny 14th. Ghost Rim is also the last car, 1 lap down. Timo Vaskilampi 15th, Barry West 16th. The last 2 cars, if I remember correctly, to finish this race. John Stevens 3 laps down, 17th. Alberto Pellegrini 18th, 4 laps down. Alexia Loma 19th, 9 laps down. And Mickey Gladge, after a very early shunt in this race, finishes 20th, 29 laps down.
We've got our winner ready to talk to us, Juha Norlampi, with a victory that he made look easy today out on track, but let's ask if it was easy within the cockpit. Juha, I said during the race, it looked like pretty much a walk in the park for you. Did it feel that way?
Hi, Joe. Yeah, it was quite easy because I had a very good setup and very good confidence to my setup. But I pushed all the way, and there was 2 times that I was almost crashed out of the race because of those lapped cars. I don't understand what they they did just before me, but I'm lucky that I survived and I'm alive until to the end, and had a best time at the race also, and pole position and race win. What else can you hope for it?
Obviously, your schedule a little bit busy at times, so in the past, your attendance can be sometimes spotty. Do you think you'll be able to attend a full season and go for a championship, or is it just kind of a for fun season again for you?
It depends many things, and I'm not sure about my schedule to the next few months. But I try to be there as much as I can and practice as much as I can. But I don't think that I can't put 100% that this season either. But this is very fun. I like it.
Glad you're still having fun out there. Speaking of which, do you consider Phillip Island another favorite of yours? We're headed there next week, and certainly a challenging track with some unique corners itself.
Yeah, it's quite a good track for me also. And well, Gernot, I don't know if he's back at there, but there is. I think Steve Bycroft is very good at that track because it's that kind of a nature of the track, and maybe Matt is also very tough to beat here there. But I will try my best to practice some days before the race, and let's see what happens there.
All right. Well, again, congratulations on the victory here in the very first round, and we'll hopefully see you in a week's time.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, and have a good week, and God bless all you guys. Bye.
That was the Preacher winner today. And up next, Steph is caught up with 4th place finisher, fellow Finn, Tommy Unhola.
Yeah, and Tommy, after the first few laps, I don't think races get much quieter than that.
Well, it was actually first 2 corners. It was, I think, with Steve, 3 corners was that race, and yeah, I fell behind Eloma and Steve, and those guys are just faster than me, and I don't know where midfield was today. Everyone behind was slower, or I don't know what was going on, and yeah, race was pretty much 3 corners for me. Actually, yeah, it was nice to hold outside from Steve, but yeah, it was not the most exciting race, but P4 is good. I don't actually know what happened. I thought I was P6 only just now saw it.
Well, that's a surprise, at least a good surprise instead of 6th or 4th. Now, because we don't have much to talk about in the race, how was qualifying?
Well, qualifying was pretty good. Yeah, I was very busy this week. Luckily, I have driven this combination very much as I had probably under 2 hours of practice, and I actually made little changes to race setup and completely forgot to test my qualifying setup. So I had half lap with the qualifying setup before the qualifying. So it was a bit interesting and more loose than I thought. And but I was not really happy with my lap. But when I looked, I was so close to Steve and other fast guys. So maybe it was pretty good lap. So not very much to take from this race, but luckily I like this combination, and hopefully I get more action next time.
Speaking about next track, Phillip Island is coming up. How are you looking forward to that one then?
Oh yeah, it's fun track, and I think I have raced it once or twice with this car, so it will be fun. It suits this car well, and I'm a bit better now with it, so it's going to be fun, I guess. It's nice to go second or third time now to some tracks as I'm still kind of new. Feels like I have been driving long time with this car, but some tracks still are first time for me.
Well, Tommy, fingers crossed you don't have to do a hot lap challenge yet again in Phillip Island next week. As always, Tommy, thanks for talking to us and congrats on your 4th place.
Yeah, let's hope that, and thank you, and see you later.
That was the Finn Tommy Mikael on Hola, 4th place after a 6th place. A start for him. Next up, Barry West talking with Joe Peak.
Yes, he wound up in 16th, 2 laps down, unfortunately, because of an incident early in the race, but he got back out there and kept going. Barry, it seems like a little bit of a wasted opportunity since you qualified so well in the top split 11th, and then that incident happened. I mean, tell us about what it was like from your perspective.
Yeah, well, this is one of my favourite tracks, and I've been done well in the previous races. Been higher than 11th. I think I finished 5th earlier. I just similar sort of pace as Sammy and in front. Didn't get a good qualifying in, so first lap was quite a banker lap, quite slow, and then I messed up the second lap, so I stuck some race fuel in and practiced for the race. So I was really confident. I had a good setup, steady car, capable of high 13s in the race, and I just unfortunately I was a bit out of position for my pace. I think I was pressurising John in the third lap, and I got a good run out of paddock, and I went to go to the inside, but knew there was no pass on because I wasn't near enough. And then I saw him lose it, and he just spun into my path. Like the front came round, it went in, and I slowed right down, and I basically only just touched him. I think I'd have got away with it, but of course Mick came up behind and didn't know where to go, so he just collected the back of me, and I think that wrecked the car. And I managed. I hope I didn't mess anybody else's race up trying to get back to the pits. So back to the pits, 2-minute 40 pit stop. Thinking, no, this is no good, and then it was difficult to drive. It wasn't completely repaired. I was just about a second and a half off my pace. So there was it was a guy in front I was chasing, and Timu, and I was catching him a bit, and then he pulled away, and then the leaders came round. So that was that. But yeah, and then in the last few laps, I seemed to pull back 6 seconds on him. So I thought, well, I wonder if he's saving fuel. So I kept pushing, and I have to apologise if I slowed up Tommy, my ex-teammate, but I could see he had a good gap behind him, so he wasn't under pressure at all. So I let him go by. But I just thought if I could keep the pressure on Timo, I might get another place. And then something must have happened the last lap because I seemed to collect some more places. And John, I think, who was in front of me all race, I think, and he ended up behind me. So I don't know what happened there. I haven't looked at the replay. But yeah, not a good start to the season. Well, a good start. I mean, a lot of points earlier on, but this race wasn't my finest, I wouldn't say. But that's one of those things that's racing, isn't it?
Certainly is. Well, commiserations on that. And you're right. There's a lot that happened in the last couple of laps. You'll want to go and watch those.
I'll watch it.
Thanks
Yeah,
for coming
sure.
in. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
and talking to us, Barry. And hopefully we'll see better from you at Phillip Island.
I'll see you in 4 weeks' time, Joe. I'm away for
Oh.
4 weeks. So, yeah. So that'd be good. Got a new teammate, Sam. So we're going to just relax and enjoy this season rather than go for it.
That sounds like a good time to me. Well, in that case, we'll see you in a few weeks' time. That was Barry West, 16th place today, and takes us to our closing. Of course, a big thank you, of course, to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go out to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Stefan, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Our Twitter is GSR Channel, Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Cram. Head on over to our YouTube page after this and make sure and hit that big red subscribe button if you haven't already. That way you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. As we mentioned, we're going down to Australia for the next race. Phillip Island hosts it on September 22nd at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.